So, last week we began the series called what? Lost and Found. Yes, you guys are so good. Let me ask you this. Has anybody ever dug through a lost and found like box or bin? What? No, what are you talking about? No, I'm not going to, I don't have dementia. I'm not going to continue telling the same story. Has anybody dug through a lost and found box? Has anybody found any treasures in a lost and found box? Shh. You have? Has anybody found? Okay, moment of confession. Shh. Moment of confession. Has anyone ever found something in the lost and found and took it even though it wasn't yours? Okay, no judgment, no hate. You know what I mean? This is a judgment-free zone. Okay. Here's the thing. We used to have in the church down this hallway, down the main hallway, and then down the hallway that goes down a little ramp beside the well that goes to the side of the sanctuary. There used to be, it was like a treasure chest, if I remember right, that was a lost and found. And we eventually did away with it just because things would end up there and would never be taken home. They were lost, but no one ever tried to find them, right? But they would be the most random things that you can imagine in this lost and found. And some things you think, so here's the other thing. If you ever noticed out here in the hallway, there's a coat hanger thing, and then there's also this brown shelf kind of thing. We used to collect things that were left behind on there. And I would look at things, and there's things that you're how, coats. Your kids' coats were out there. And I'm how in the world, when it's 0 degrees, how did they not know that these things were lost, and why did they not find them, right? But then there's other things in a lost and found that you're just well, I lost that, so who really cares? The truth is, we search for lost things depending on the value that we place on those things, right? All last week, I wanted to wear a particular shirt. In fact, the shirt that I really wanted to wear was the shirt that Kennedy is wearing right now. Not to point all attention on you right now, Kennedy, but it's the long sleeve. It's the long sleeve NWO NYI shirts that we got fall retreat, I think. I really like that shirt. It's extremely comfortable. I like it. I really wanted to wear it all week last week. I could not find it. Do you know how much energy and time I spent looking for that shirt?
2 hours.
Basically none. It wasn't in my drawer where my clean clothes are. I really wanted it, but it wasn't really worth tearing up the house for. I thought, eventually it will show up in the laundry, it'll get washed, and I'll wear it, right? I didn't put any effort into watching it. On the other hand, a couple of weeks ago, Chelsea and I lost our keys to bring some keys into the story, Gage, but a different set of keys than what I talked about last week. We lost our key, I actually have them right here. We lost our keys to our Honda Civic. Our Civic is just kind of our driver that when we're not hauling around our 30 kids, and we don't drive it very much, but we lost these keys. How much time do you think we spent searching for these keys?
2 hours.
It was essentially an entire day, and we basically tore up the entire house to find them. We found them behind and underneath one of our couches. Apparently one of the boys was playing with them. But we did everything that we could to find these keys. Why? Because it was more valuable, but also because this was the only one that we had. We don't have an extra key to our Civic, and so we couldn't drive it without this key. So we spent a lot of time and a lot of energy trying to find that set of keys because we had determined that particular item was valuable. It was worth searching for. On the other hand, my shirt, it wasn't really worth searching for, right? Well, I did, yeah. It showed up Friday. It showed up in the laundry. So I wore it Friday. Yeah. Thanks for asking, though. It was, yeah. Huh? It was at the bottom of a laundry pile and just hadn't been washed. You know, when you have 100 kids, it takes forever to get through the laundry. Am I right, Greens? Okay, so where does this value come from, though? right? We like when we place value, we don't just place value on things. The truth is, we also place value on people, right? So let's just do a little exercise here. All right, I'm going to assign some value to myself. I'm not going to place value on you because that would be really rude. I'm going to place some value on me, all right? We're going to determine Pastor Josh's value. All right, so let's see. I graduated college. I would say that puts me at a value of, let's go with $200. All right? Let's see. My kids like me for the most part, so I'll put that, like my kids. I mean, to me, that's like at least worth $150, right? The truth is, though, sometimes I yell at my kids. Believe it or not, at times I yell at my kids. So, yell at kids. I mean, that's got to deduct, what do you say, 50? We'll deduct $50 there. I play softball. I like to at least think that I can at least like hold down first base. Is that fair, Dave? Is that fair? I'm an okay first baseman. Okay. So my first baseman skills, 500. Wow, Dave, I appreciate that. I'm only going to go. That's less than the kids, $100. The truth is, though, like there's no way that I can ever beat out an infield ground ball because I'm just slow and fat and old, right? So I'm slow. So we'll deduct 25 of that. Let's see, what else? I also quit playing baseball in high school. I was a quitter. So quitter, there's minus another 25. All right. What? Should have been. Somebody add this up for me. Somebody do a little math for me real quick.
Well, you see. Do you have a unit circle?
What is it?
She got minus 100 to add.
Why is this difficult? 200, 400, 500.
You're wrong.
350, 300, 400, $350. 300. So my value, Pastor Josh's value is about $350. Would you agree?
You're worth more than that, Josh.
Thank you, Braylon. I appreciate that. Let's be honest, though. Let's be honest. This is quite ridiculous, right? This is quite ridiculous. To go through and place money value on arbitrary things like my skills as a first baseman or my skills as a dad or a lack thereof, or accomplishments I made in college or lack of accomplishments I made in high school sports. Like, this is silly, right? This is not a scientific way to place value. But can we be really honest for just a second? Can we be really honest and admit that we actually do these kinds of things more often than we maybe like to admit? We don't necessarily place money value on things. Are we struggling with my math here? All right, okay. Okay, all right, okay. Let's do this. There we go. The answer was 350. The answer was 350. Okay. I will not value you based on your math skills. Okay? Okay. All right. Here we go. Let's focus back in. If we're honest, we actually tend to place value on people based on things like this. We don't necessarily place money value on things. But the truth is, in society, we place value on people based on things like productivity, right? We place value on people based on things like possessions. What car do you drive? Or what shoes are you wearing? Or what brand of clothes are you wearing? How big is your house? What's in your house? We place value on people based on possessions. We place value on people based on abilities. Like, how good are you at playing a sport? How good are you in the band? How good are you at acting? Whatever it may be, we place value based on those abilities. We place value on you based on your characteristics. Again, your productivity. What do you contribute to society? And these are all ways that we place value on people in society. But let me remind you, as followers of Christ, we are called and invited into a way of life that is oftentimes, and I would even say most times, upside down from what our society is. From the way that we do things here in our society, the call to Christ is an invitation for us to do things differently. And so this evening, I want to continue on our Lost and Found series, and I want to kind of challenge this idea of value, specifically value that is placed on people based on these worldly things that I've just talked about: abilities, characteristics, skills, possessions, productivity. I want to kind of flip that on its head just a little bit, but it's really not me flipping on its head. It's Jesus' words. Okay? Are you guys ready? You can say yes. Yes. Woo! Get excited. So, in our Lost and Found series, we have been working through Luke chapter 15. In Luke chapter 15, let me just remind you of the scene. Jesus is being kind of confronted by the Pharisees. Who were the Pharisees? The God people? Yeah, pretty much. They were the religious leaders, right? Like, they were the religious people. They were the ones that Jesus often butted heads with. But these were the religious leaders, the people who, like you would say, are the God people, the religious people. And in Luke chapter 15, we see Jesus having this interaction with these Pharisees. And does anybody remember what the Pharisees are, what their kind of grumblings are to Jesus about what Jesus is doing in this? Their grumblings are over who Jesus is interacting with. Who's that? Sinners and tax collectors is what he said, what they say. They say Jesus is interacting, he's eating dinner with these sinners and these tax collectors. And why are they saying that? Because they think that he shouldn't be doing that, right? Because as a good religious person, those are the people that you're not going to interact with. Those are the ones that you're going to remain separate from. And they're calling out Jesus because he is interacting with these sinners and tax collectors. He's interacting with these people that the religious people had kind of cast off as outsiders and others, and those who were of very little value. Now, instead of Jesus just kind of blasting them and saying, you guys are idiots, and I'm going to show you a different way, what does Jesus do? He tells 3 parables, which we know that parables are kind of stories that were made up. These things didn't actually happen, but they're stories that Jesus made up so that he could kind of paint a picture of the way the kingdom of God works, the way things operate in this way of Christ that we live, right? So he tells these stories. Last week we told one parable. Does anybody remember what that parable was? Yeah, the lost sheep, right? The 100 sheep and one wanders away, and the shepherd goes and gets the one that wandered away, brings them back to the 99, rejoices when the 99 or when the one rejoins the 99, and this idea of like Jesus notices, right? Because these parables are a picture of who God is, who Jesus is. Jesus notices when we wander. Jesus notices when we're lost. And he goes to find us. He chases us down. He does whatever it takes to get to us and to find us and brings us back into the group. So that's what we told last week. This week we're going to tell a second parable. This is just a super short parable. But again, this is Jesus reacting and responding to the Pharisees, the religious leaders who were kind of calling him out for interacting with sinners and tax collectors. Okay, so Luke chapter 15, verse 8 through 10 says this. Or suppose a woman has 10 silver coins and loses one. Doesn't she light a lamp, sweep the house, and search carefully until she finds it? And when she finds it, she calls her friends and neighbors together and says, "Rejoice with me, I have found my lost coin." In the same way, I tell you, there is rejoicing in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents. One coin. What's the big deal about this one coin, right? She has 9 other coins. She still has 90% of the coins that she had, but she loses this one coin. Now we have to understand that in this context, like losing one silver coin was more than just us like losing a penny, right? This would have had significant value, and it would have been, it would not translate well to us just saying we lost a penny. Because how many of you all have turned over your house trying to find a single penny? You have? Brogan, you probably have. That's probably true. You're like, that's going to my lawn mowing business. I got to be profitable, right? We don't typically go crazy to find one single penny, right? Why? Because we haven't placed that much value on it. But this woman, she has placed significant value on this one single coin, much like I placed significant value on my keys that I lost. And she kind of turned over her house to try to find this one coin because she had placed significant value on it. What happens when she searches for it? This part. Yeah, she finds it, right? She finds the lost coin, and then what does she do? She celebrates. She calls her neighbors and her friends to celebrate, to have a party, which is really funny too, right? Like I actually did. I texted my father-in-law because he was trying to help me find someone who could make a new key for this. And I texted him like, "We found the keys," but I didn't invite him over for a party. Like we didn't have cake and ice cream because I found my keys. But this woman has placed such significant value on this one single coin that she had lost that when she found it, she began to celebrate, and then she invited others to her celebration. Let me ask you this. Where else have we seen this celebration over the finding of one thing? The what? Not yet. We haven't got there yet. Hold on to your horses. What? The parable of the lost sheep, right? That ends with the shepherd rejoicing and celebrating the fact that this sheep has made his way back, that he found the sheep. And so twice now, we've seen this celebration over this one thing of significance that has been lost and is now found. Now, you guys know what's coming next in the next parable, okay? And so we'll talk about that next week. But the following week, we're going to kind of culminate this whole thing in this idea of celebrating what has been found. But I just want you to kind of tuck that away in your brains for right now. When this woman found her one single penny, she celebrated. She invited others into this celebration with her. But I want to look today, because we're not going to get to the celebration today, but today what I want to look at is the idea of value that Jesus kind of portrays in this parable. And I think that there are 2 things that I want to pull from this parable when it comes to value. One will kind of be like a minor point. You know how some like stories have kind of a subplot or a subpoint, and then there's the major thing? I want to do that with this parable. There's kind of 2 things I want you to walk away with. One is kind of the minor. It's not really minor, but I think the way that this story is told, it's the minor point. And then there's the major point. The obvious one is this. Jesus is saying that who is valuable? Every single person, right? So specifically, if we put that in context of here, that means Jesus is saying, you are valuable. Right, Miley, you are valuable. Allie, you are valuable. We see in these parables the value of this one lost coin, and so we can pull from that I am valuable. Who sees us as valuable? God. Jesus. Yes. So here's what I want you to do. Simply because you were created in the image of God, simply because you are an image bearer of God, simply because of who you are valued. Not because of things that you've done. I would show you my list, but I had to turn it around. Not because of things that you've done, characteristics or skills that you have, or the lack thereof. Not because of any of that. You are simply valued because of who you are. You are valued because you are a beloved child of God. So here's what I want you to do on your little wooden coin, okay? This is the only thing I want you to write, okay? I want you to write on one side, I am valued. All good? Okay. So here's the deal. As a teenager, in the year 2021, sitting here listening to this talk, this message, whatever you might call it, you can know, because of this parable that Jesus told the Pharisees, you can know, because I believe that this applies to every single person, but you can know that you are valued. I know it may not feel like it. I know there may be times when your value comes into question by other people. I know there may be times where your value comes into question because of you, like you question your value, but I want each and every one of you to know that you are valued. God values you, we value you, simply because of who you are. Simply because that you are created by God, simply because you're an image bearer of Creator God. That's it. No ifs, ands, or buts, no other qualifiers there. You are valued simply because of who you are. I want you to know that, okay? And that's significant. But I think that there's something even more significant from this parable. Who was Jesus telling this parable to? Who was Jesus telling the parable to? The Pharisees. Why? Because the Pharisees were calling out Jesus for talking to the sinners and the tax collectors. Okay, I want you to follow my train of thought here. The Pharisees were calling out Jesus for talking and interacting with the sinners and the tax collectors. Jesus tells this parable to say that that one sheep, that one coin was valuable. Where do you think the Pharisees likely found themselves in this parable? The 99 sheep or the 9 coins, right? There was never any question of the value of the 99 sheep or the 9 coins, right? That was implied in this story that those had value. They were all together. I would say that the Pharisees likely in this story found themselves or identified with those 9 coins in this particular story to say, of course I'm valuable, right? Of course I'm valuable. I am one of the religious guys, right? Like I've been following all of the law. I've been doing everything I'm supposed to do. I'm a leader in my church, my gathering, my religious gathering. Like I've got it going on. I am finding myself in the group of valued people. The Pharisees are finding themselves there. But they weren't the ones that were, so that means that they weren't the ones that were lost in this story. So when Jesus is telling this story, I don't think that Jesus' point in this was telling the Pharisees that they too were valued, right? Because they already knew that they were valued, right? We can call that a little bit of arrogance, maybe, but there was no question in their mind of their own value and their own significance. So I don't think that Jesus was telling this story to the Pharisees to convince them of their value. Who was he trying to convince them of? I don't know how to say that. Whose value was he trying to convince the Pharisees of? The one single coin, right? The Pharisees didn't need reminded that they were valuable. The Pharisees needed reminded that that one single coin or that one single sheep was valued. So remember, Jesus is answering the question of why are you interacting with these tax collectors and these sinners? And he says, because they're valuable. Because that one is valued just like you are valued. So can I challenge you in this way? Just like you are valued, you wrote that on that coin right there, just like you are valued, Jesus is saying every other person is valued. Every single person has value simply because they were created in the image of God. That means that God even values that person that you struggle to find value in. You know the one I'm talking about. You know the person that you struggle to find any intrinsic value in. the person that gets on your nerves and the person that you think is a nobody, right? You've got somebody in your mind. This parable means that God even values that person. And because God values that person, Jesus is inviting us into a way of life of seeing that same exact intrinsic value in every single person. Every single person has that same value. So my challenge to you is this: how do you see people? How do you value people? How do you value specifically the people who maybe society has said are of no value? How do you value people that you struggle to see any value in at all? How do you see them? Do you value them? Here's what I want you to do. You've got that coin in your hand that says, I am loved. Just as a way of a reminder that it's not just you. I think I said that you are loved. It says you are valued, right? Okay, you guys know what I'm talking about. Just as a reminder to say, not only am I valued, but God values every other person. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to swap coins with somebody. Now you have the coin that somebody else wrote, that I am valued. And I would encourage you to take that coin with you. Maybe keep it in your pocket, keep it on your dresser, keep it somewhere you can see it, maybe in your cup holder in your car, wherever it may be. I would encourage you to keep that. I want you to remember that I am valued, right? Everybody say that with me. I am valued. 1, 2, 3. I am valued. I want you to remember that. Like, that's significant. I want you to know that. But I also want you to remember that the person that wrote that I am valued on your coin, I want you to remember that that person is valued as well. So look at your neighbor and say, you are valued. Don't spit on them. Okay? All right, listen. So it's my prayer, it's my prayer that every time you see that coin, that you'll remember that you're valued, but even more significantly, that you will remember that every single person is valued by God. Every single person is valued by God. I truly believe that understanding that every single person is valued by God, I honestly believe that seeing people that way has the potential to completely change our world, to change our culture, to change our society, to change our youth group, to change our church, to change everything if we simply saw every single person as a valued, beloved image bearer of God. I really believe that. Let me pray for you. God, thank you so much for your love for us. Thank you that you see value in every single person. God, thank you that you don't play by the rules that we have created here in society that says my value is based on what I do, what I accomplish, what I have, the skills that I have, and the characteristics. Thank you that you have created this upside down world, this upside down kingdom that you invite us to, that says that every single person has value simply because you created them. So we thank you for that you look at us and you call us valuable, but we also thank you that you look at every single person and say the exact same thing. God, I pray that my friends in here would take this invitation seriously, that they would buy into this idea that every single person has value and that they would treat every person that way. God, thank you again for your love and for your grace. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.